Hello everyone, my name is Jordan, also known as X-3. Today I'm going to be showing you two synths in one combinator. So I'm going to be showing you two growls instead of one combinator. It's basically does a lot of the routing with the modular bus section, along with the mixer that controls both of those. But we'll dive into that here in a minute. I also have an 8-bit Werewolf synth to teach you guys. So that's more of a hyperactive effect. So I'm just going to play this demo example I have for you guys, and then we'll dive right on into it. Alright, so the first thing you want to do is right click, create a combinator, throw in Thor. Thor is incredibly powerful for this. So I'm going to show you how to create two growls in one synth. The first things that we're going to need are our oscillators. The last one is a basic sine wave, so just put it on analog, sine wave, and take it down 2 octaves. Next, for our first two oscillators, set them to wavetables. We're going to choose the same wave for both of these, which is 10 sines. We're going to take this down an octave, our first oscillator. And for the position, just make that, I think I set this to, nope, I set this to 28. So a little bit higher, but not too much. Hold shift if you can't get those finite numbers. Next, we're going to take up our second oscillator. We're gonna take the octave up to 2. So octave 6. The position, we're gonna set this to 64, so right in the middle. Alright, and this position knob changes how the waves will be played. So what starting position should they be played? Should they be played in the middle where a lot of low end is, or very high where a lot of ringing is? You never know. Anyways, what this synth is basically composed of is the LFO, the amp envelope, and the mod bus and filter. So for the filter, you just turn up the filter frequency up all the way. The resonance, take that up to 55. And for the envelope down here, set this to 64. Okay. For the amp envelope, or actually, I'm sorry, for our shaper, we turn this on and we set it to rectify. It's a very, very, very soft saturation for this synth. And just take it down to about 30. Next, what I'm going to do is turn on my second router and make sure that oscillator 2 goes through here and oscillator 1 goes through here as well. So here's what we're going to do. For LFO 1, turn on key sync, set the right up. So since this is not synced, it's at 44.6 Hertz. There we go. Don't need the keyboard follow, that actually messes up the sound. Okay, so for our amp envelope, turn up the sustain to full. Push up the release to probably about 122 milliseconds. Take the attack and throw it right, for the filter envelope, throw up the attack to about 870, somewhere around there. Take the decay down a bit to about 1 minute and, no, not 1 minute, but 1 1/3 seconds. Okay, so for the routing, this is what our synth sounds like. Very ringy and very high pitched, but we're actually going to change that when everything hits the Modbus. So I'm going to load up all my sources, then the destination, and then the amount. So for source 1, that's going to be oscillator 2. We're going to choose LFO 1 twice for the second and third parameters. Second and third slots. For the fourth one, you want to set that to oscillator 1. Fifth, LFO 1. The rest, LFO 1. And for the final one down here, we're going to choose LFO 2. Just because LFO 1 is going to be rerouted and modulated so much that it can't be used for anything else but to modulate a sound. The destination for the first one is filter 1 frequency modulation. We're going to, Second one, we're going to set our oscillator 2 position knob. Third is going to be our LFO 1 rate. Fourth is going to be our filter 1 FM. I think this is fifth. Yeah, fifth, we're going to choose oscillator 1 position. For sixth, we're going to choose filter 2 frequency. I don't know why that's there. And for LFO 2, we're going to choose our oscillator 1 to 2 balance. So that's found in mixer, 1 to 2 balance right there. Okay, for the amounts, the first one is at 100. The first 3, so this one is at 100 and these two are at 64. Okay, for the fourth, this is going to be 77. 77. 77. Okay, now the fifth is going to be 48. Sixth is going to be, both of these are going to be at 100. Now let's have a listen to our synth. Almost, but we're going to need to basically modulate this a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to throw my mixer all the way to the left. I'm going to take my third out down to about negative 15 decibels. Okay, so this is where the other growls come in. You can modulate this frequency knob to be all over the place. It changes the characteristics of the voice, but it's a little bit more wobbled. If you go over to the second, that's the other growl. Okay, so that's that. For the two growls fit into one synth. This is where you can blend between two of them to get a very different result. The LFO2, I want to turn that on sync, tempo sync, set the rate to 132, or actually 1/8 or 1/16, I'm sorry. And we change this to a square. Now this is the modulated sound. You can choose the other one by just taking off the LFO and the rate, but this is the other sound I wanted to include with this video. So that's the sound. I'm going to show you guys how to create the other sound, which is called 8-bit Werewolf. This is going to be a little bit longer, but it's well worth it. Throw in another combinator, throw in Thor. And for Thor, we're going to open this up, go through our oscillators, our routings, our filters, our amp envelope, filter envelope, and LFO. So let's get to it. The first oscillator is going to be a wavetable. Take that down 2 octaves and change it to a mixed wave number 2. The position of this knob is going to be at 80. Okay, the second oscillator is going to be also another wavetable. We're going to also take this down 2 octaves and set this to mixed waves 3. I'm then going to take the position knob that we have up to 74. And for our third oscillator, change it to an FM pair. Make sure this little sync button down here is turned on for the FM pair, so that way we don't get higher frequencies in a synth that when a note is plucked, it won't play out of time. So make sure to turn on 1, 2, and 3 for the routings, and 1 and 3 down here. Make sure it routes out. For the filter 1, we're going to change this to a comb. We're going to change this frequency to about 300, and the resonance we're going to take about 30. Make sure it's on negative. Turn on the invert for the envelope and leave as is. Next, I'm going to go over to my third filter, change it to a low pass ladder, turn up the frequency all the way, in the resonance about 3/4, almost about 3/4, so about 93, and set it for the mode to 6. The reason why it's not dipped down 24 decibels, it's only dipped down 6 decibels, allowing more of the noise to filter in. Turn up the drive to about 90, and that should do it. Now, let's see how our synth sounds. I forgot to do one other thing, which is to take down this synth by 2 octaves, change the carrier to 8, the mod to 3, and the FM is very picky, so we're going to change this to 73. There we go. More of a type of mouth sound. So for my amp envelope, throw up your decay and sustain all the way. And you can bring up your attack and your release a little bit so that way it doesn't end sharply. For your for your filter envelope, you want to do the same thing except take the release down to 550 milliseconds. I'm going to take the decay and the sustain down a little bit more, not at full, but almost there. So let's see how this sounds. Much more like it. So for the mod bus, we're going to change our LFO1. And the first two, we're going to choose CVN1. CVN1 and CVN1. And our fourth, we're going to change our oscillator 1. Change that blank to oscillator 1. The destinations are going to be our oscillator 3 FM amount for the first 3. Okay, for the last one, we're going to change this to amp input. So that's found in amp. Audio input. So for the first few values, the first one is going to be 37. The second one is going to be 50. Or 51. It can be either. The CV1 input of our oscillator 3, number 3, we're going to take this down to -100. And for our final one, we're going to take this to a +53. And we have the first of our growlness. Our LFO1, our final thing to do, is to turn on tempo sync, take this to 1/8, take the keyboard follow up all the way, and change this to a triangle wave. Okay, now close up Thor. We don't need it. Or actually open it up. I'm sorry, we're gonna leave it open because we need to attach in our CV1. So that comes in later in. So I'm gonna throw on our Scream 4. Still leave this open. I'm going to take this Scream 4's damage all the way down to 20. I want to set the type to digital. I'm going to turn up P1 all the way and P2 about 5/8. We've created our werewolf digitized growl. The last thing we need to do is throw on a maximizer. Studio Effects, maximizer, take it off limiter, put release to auto, turn on soft clip, set the amount all the way to full. And this is where the trickiness comes in with the CV1. We're going to take our, we also want to throw in an ECF, envelope controlled filter. Throw it before the maximizer. And I want to take my frequency CV and plug it into CV1. Okay. Now you can mess around with this filter frequency to get this 8-bit growl to be modulated by taking the envelope amount all the way down and setting it to a low pass 24. And I use some automation to animate this. Bandpass will give it both frequencies, but only select a certain mid. But that's how you create the digitized 8-bit werewolf. And that's all 3 synths, since I already showed you 2 in the first one. And I'll check you guys out later, tomorrow, for Info Friday and what I find to be interesting and should be pointed out. Thanks for joining me on this birthday special, and I'll check you guys out tomorrow for something even better. Yeah, take care guys, be safe, and peace. Hey everyone, so thanks for joining me on my birthday to celebrate, I don't know, Triple Threat Thursday. I want to say thank you guys a lot for watching this stuff. It really does mean a whole lot to me. So other than that, I do want to say there are 2 things coming out. One of them is a sample pack for Reason and Ableton, and that's going to be coming out in about 2 weeks. The second thing that's going to be coming out is an EP album that's going to be later out in July. This EP album is going to contain singing, so I'm not sure that you guys are going to appreciate my vocals or lyrics, but who knows? You guys are my fans, and I want to deliver a piece of my heart to you guys, so that way you understand where I come from and my struggles in life and what I want to bring to the big picture. So yeah, thank you guys so much for following me, and as always, I thank you so much for watching these videos. It pushes me to better limits. So yeah, I hope you guys are having a good May 14th. I am 24 as of now, and I will check you guys out later for another wonderful video. Peace.